All right. Rainbow macaroni cheese. So the reason it's rainbow is because it's got some veggies in it, which is different to normal. So we're actually going to prep our veggies. There's cheese sauce and then there's the pasta and vegetables, okay? So they're slightly separate. I am going to get my pasta on. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is get my macaroni going. I'm going to use this saucepan. So I'm going to about half fill it with water. Put a bit of salt in my water. Got some salt, Mrs. Brooke. I don't think it's on my list, but I should probably always put a bit of salt in your water. Always match the side of your saucepan. So if we move over to here, always match the side of your saucepan to the size of the base of it. So whatever element you put it on, make sure that you have matched the size of your pot to the size of the element. Okay, so I'm going to put that on and get that boiling. I'm going to turn myself back in. All right, thank you all. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in the water. It's cooking salt, just to add a bit of flavour. And we're going to prep our veggies. So I've got a carrot. I love this little machine because it just makes life easy for me. I'm not even going to bother grating it, peeling it. I'm just going to... I've got the little pushy down thing. It means I can get it all the way to the bottom. And there, it even peels off that bit of, that's the skin. So, in there. And we can change this out. And we can put the one in for the onion. So I might let a few people play with this on Monday, first in, best dressed. But I'm planning on investing in a few more of them. So we're just going to peel the onion. Now normally you would just chop it, so I will show you how to do that as well. I don't have any knives. Grab a knife, so we're going to cut the end off. And I'm going to cut it in half. We always leave the roots on the onion so that's easier to hold. Okay. So we're just going to peel off the skin. If any part of it's brown, you need to remove whatever's brown, okay? So some of the onion might be a bit brown and discoloured, so I usually remove that as well. Okay. So if I was chopping this, I would cut that way. Guys, we're watching? So we're going to cut through that way, and then we would cut that way, okay? But I'm just going to do this, like that. So I'm just going to cut through, and then I'm going to stick it in my machine. So I'm just going to put them back together like that. And I use my little doobie. It's just squishing. Probably should have left it uncut. I'll take that one out. Leave that one in. Back. There we go. Nice and easy. Veggies cut. Oh wow, very powerful though.
Yeah, that's why when we had onion pasta.
That's a powerful onion.
Very cute.
Just going to cover that up so that it doesn't continue to affect me. Alright, so we've got our water boiling. We need 1 cup of dry macaroon. Now this will swell up and you'll end up filling up both your containers, okay? So you'll both get to take 1 home each. So that's going to go in there.
Pasta absorbs the water and expands.
Pardon?
Pasta absorbs the water and expands.
Yep, it swells up. Okay. Right, so on a medium heat we are going to saute the onion and the carrot in another saucepan. We're going to do that in a bit of butter. Do I have butter, Mrs. Crawford? Butter?
How much do you need?
50 grams. That'll probably be close, I think. That's the wrong one. I just turned on the wrong element. So I'm going to turn this back here. So we're going to put a bit of butter into our pan. And we're going to saute off our carrots and our, that'll be about enough. I'm going to use butter because butter tastes better. Okay. Now you want to saute, which is moving it around in there until your onion is a little bit clear. So you want to get rid of you want to make it look a bit see-through, less opaque, a translucent look to your onion. I'll use that butter for, okay, that's enough butter for that. I'll save the rest of the butter for the sauce. Let's get that. Put my carrot and my onion in there. Just give that a bit of a toss. Just want to get that so it's not crunchy, okay? Because it's not going to cook very much in the pasta, so you want to cook it in here first. You could also add in peas or a little bit of finely chopped up broccoli. Maybe even a grated zucchini could go in here as well if you wanted to, a bit of green. Actually, we're meant to have a half a cup of frozen peas and corn, Mrs. Cook. Yep. Thought there was some green in this, yeah. So we're just going to cook this for 3 to 4 minutes. And then we're going to take it off the heat and we're going to make our sauce. I hope you're not listening to music while I'm doing a demo. Good. Maybe you could take the headphone out so I know you're not. So we just want the onion to change colour a little, absorb all that butter. Yep, okay. You don't want it to burn, so you want it to keep it moving a bit. Sauteing, actually I do think the word saute in French means to move the food around. But don't quote me, because I haven't looked it up for a while. Alright, that'll do. Don't want it to burn. And I'm just going to pop it back in the bowl it came out of. Nice and cooked.
How much?
Half a cup. Alright, so put that over to the side. Now we're going to make our roux, which is a sauce. Okay, R-O-U-X is how you spell roux. And a roux is a suspension. So what we're doing is we're putting butter and flour. I need the flour. Flour, so it's 50 grams of plain flour, yep. So I'm going to melt my butter, okay, 50 grams of butter in here. I'm just going to make sure my pasta doesn't overflow here. So I'm going to mix in my butter. And I'm going to put in 50 grams of plain flour. So once your butter's melted, you're going to take it off the heat. And 50 grams is about 2.5 tablespoons, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3 tablespoons of flour. There's 14 or 15 grams per tablespoon, so I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to mix that in until we end up with like a paste. Okay. And just get the milk. So we need 1.5 cups of milk, and that's what we're going to add to the we don't have any milk, Mrs. Crow? I will press pause. Right. So we've measured out our breadcrumbs and our flavouring, which is our cayenne pepper. Now cayenne pepper is actually quite spicy, guys, so you don't want to put too much cayenne pepper in unless you really like spicy food. Don't put lots of cayenne in. Some of you might. I have a daughter who loves spicy food, so she would add heaps to it. But, alright, so we've got our breadcrumbs, our cheese, and it's all going on top. Okay, so a roux is a suspension. So what happens is when I pour the milk in here, the heat is going to make the gluten strands. You know how, I don't know whether you remember doing bread making in grade 6, where you had to knead the bread and that actually makes the gluten stretch out. The same thing happens in the roux, but the gluten kind of breaks down and it thickens up the sauce, okay? And so we need the gluten for that as well, to thicken the sauce up. So as soon as our work is pasta is done, thank you. Nothing like a quick little job. Alright, so we want 1.5 cups of milk. Eye level. Make sure you use your jug. Right, so we put it back on the heat. I'm putting my hands in the spoon. We're going to drizzle a little bit of milk in and then stir. So stir it in, and you could even use your whisk for this and just get it really well incorporated, and just keep adding more milk and then stir until you don't have any lumps. Okay, turn your temperature right down, add a bit more milk, mix it in. You don't want lumpy roux, okay? Your roux needs to be smooth and silky. Pasta's almost there. Got a few things. So one of you is going to be keeping an eye on your veggies and your pasta. The other one's going to be making your roux. Alright. So how do we know if our pasta's cooked? Who knows how to tell if pasta is cooked? Yep.
The soft.
If it's al dente.
Yeah, soft. They did say to throw it on a dull surface, so usually you could throw it on a sibling.
Yeah, because
But you can taste it. Okay? It's going to cook a little bit more in the oven. Oh, which I need to remember to turn on. Which I haven't turned on at 180 degrees. I've taken it off the heat now, and I'm going to pop it in my colander over the sink and just strain off all of the liquid. Give it a shake, guys, because macaroni is hollow and so it will trap the water. Okay? Right, so that's done. Turn off that element. We are going to put the macaroni in with our veggies. Now, we're still waiting for our roux to thicken. Okay, so you can turn the temperature up a bit. We're going to wait for it to become a sauce. So you have to keep stirring. until it starts to thicken. You don't want to leave it alone for too long or it will burn, and that is bad. Burnt roux is not good. Just keep stirring. You can continue to use your whisk. I like to use a wooden spoon, I get more control. But when you are mixing in the milk into the flour, you really want to make sure you've got your whisk, because that will get rid of any of your lumps. Okay, you can start to see it will start to thicken, and you'll see it making a line through your sauce. It needs to get to over 80 degrees before it will start to thicken. Milk has a much lower boiling point to water, so milk will boil at about 65, 70 degrees, and so you want to be careful not to turn your back on milk, because milk also explodes. Who's ever boiled over the milk on the stove? Makes an awful mess, stinks, is really hard to clean off the cooktop.
I burnt condensed milk on Saturday.
Oh, lovely. Why is your hair down? Put it up, please. All right, starting to thicken now. So Christina was ahead of herself today, and she sent me her work plan for this before the demo. So make sure, check it and make sure that you haven't missed anything out.
I definitely.
All right, it's starting to look a bit like lava now, so that's the sort of consistency you want. You want it to be doing like a popping kind of lava consistency. Whoops, I spilt a bit. Okay, and we're going to pour that into our pan, into our bowl. Now, anything else that I have missed, check and see. So we haven't put our cheddar cheese, so half a cup of cheddar in there. Mix it all through. The heat will melt that cheese. You can put it in before you add it to this container, but the heat will melt it down. Right, can you see that's actually made quite a bit of food? I'll move this back here like this. And we're going to tip it into our containers. So this will absorb some of the moisture, so the pasta will continue to absorb the moisture. So we're just going to divide it between the two containers. You can see the cheese. Yummy, yummy. Okay. This makes exactly enough to go between these two containers. There we go. What's the cheese? Yum, yum. I forgot something. Oops, back in there. I forgot the flavour. I do this every year. I forget the flavour. Because normally mac and cheese doesn't have this part, but we're going to add the mustard and the cayenne pepper. Oops. You can also add that to your sauce on the stove. I'm going to mix it in. Oops. There we go. Now it's in there. Now I can put it back in the container. One and two. I almost forgot to put this flavour in, Mrs. Crook. It was almost a Greek tragedy. Alright. Alright, there we go. Let's smooth it out. And we're going to put some cheese on top. So we only need like a couple pinches of cheese across the top. And then the breadcrumbs. So sprinkle breadcrumbs on top, just so it covers it. And that can go in the oven. They're quite warm underneath. You open the oven door for me? On the middle shelf. And they're done. So you just cook those for about 15 minutes in the oven, and then you can take them out. I will show you a photo of them when we're done. So just going to clean up. Press stop. Okay, so this is the final product. How delicious does that look? Nice and crusty and all golden on top, so you can sink your teeth into that. You don't need to bring a container next week, you just need to bring yourselves and your work plan. So enjoy.